Across our world, anomalies exist. They are echoes of real events, unanswered questions that haunt the curious mind. Here lies a different kind of truth, challenging our perception of reality. Tonight, we journey into that darkness to reveal the chilling mysteries that lie beneath. Welcome to Dark Data Files. We venture into territories beyond conventional wisdom, seeking the most bizarre and unsettling cases. We present the evidence and the enduring questions. Stay with us. Our journey begins in a place that should have been safe, shattered by a disappearance. The first file is now open. The darkness awaits. In 1974, Coconut Grove was a vibrant bohemian enclave. 17-year-old Amy Bilig, artistic and trusting, lived here. On March 5th, she left to meet her father for lunch. Amy intended to hitchhike, a common practice then, but she never arrived. The search began, panic gripping her family. Amy was gone. Her disappearance became a local news story, her photo haunting the community, now cloaked in fear. Amy Bilig had vanished without a trace. The silence was broken by the jarring ring of the telephone. Days after Amy vanished, the calls began. A young woman's voice, faint and distant, would whisper. Amy's mother was convinced it was her missing daughter. The connection was always poor, filled with static. The voice would murmur for help, of being held captive. Each call was a fresh wound, a spike of hope followed by despair. The calls were a cruel form of psychological warfare for years. The police were stymied. They were a technological torment, a ghost in the machine. This haunting auditory trail became the central, agonizing feature of the case. Over the years, the investigation churned on, a relentless engine fueled by the family's unwavering determination. Leads would surface like mirages in a desert, only to evaporate upon closer inspection. Outlaw motorcycle gangs were investigated, their shadowy world of transient violence seeming a plausible backdrop for such a crime. One theory, which gained significant traction, centered on the Pagans Motorcycle Club, suggesting Amy may have been abducted and forced into a life on the road with them. Her father, Ned, pursued this lead with a singular, obsessive focus, even infiltrating the dangerous subculture himself. He would follow rumors across the country, showing Amy's photograph in smoke-filled bars and at desolate roadside stops. A father transformed into a detective by grief. He heard whispers that she was alive, that she had been seen, but these sightings were always fleeting, unverifiable. It was a life consumed by the search, a pilgrimage of sorrow. While some claim to have seen a girl resembling Amy with the Pagans, no concrete evidence ever emerged to place her definitively in their company. It remained a powerful, yet ultimately unproven narrative in the sprawling mystery of her fate. The calls, the most tangible link to Amy, eventually ceased, leaving behind an even more profound silence. The case grew cold, relegated to dusty file cabinets, but it never truly closed. For the Bilig family, and for the public that had followed the story, it remained an open wound. The passage of decades did little to dull the sharp edges of the mystery. Amy Bilig remains officially a missing person. A photograph of a smiling 17-year-old is all that is left of the girl who walked out into the Florida sun and never came back. And so we are left with the echo of a mother's certainty, of a father's relentless search, and of a faint voice on a telephone line. The evidence is ambiguous, the truth obscured by time and tragedy. There is no body, no crime scene, no confession. There is only the story, and the chilling question it forces upon us. If you were the one sitting by that phone, hearing that desperate whisper through the static, what would you believe? Would it be the voice of your lost child, or the cruelest deception imaginable? In the far-flung reaches of the North Atlantic, where the sea churns in a constant restless fury, lie the Flannan Isles. These are remote and unforgiving outcrops of rock, battered by wind and wave, a place where human presence feels like a temporary intrusion. It was here, atop the highest point of Eileen Moor, that a lighthouse stood sentinel, a beacon of safety, manned by 3 keepers, Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur. Their duty was a solitary one, a life governed by the rhythmic sweep of the light and the roar of the ocean below. In December of 1900, the light on Eileen Moor, a vital guide for passing ships, went dark. The first sign that something was amiss came from the steamer Arctur on its passage from Philadelphia to Leith. Its crew noted the absence of the familiar beam on the night of December 15th, an unnerving silence in a place that should have been ablaze with light. Yet, due to severe weather that relentlessly pounded the Scottish coast, the scheduled relief vessel, the Hesperus, was unable to make its journey to the isolated isle for many days. Finally, on Boxing Day, the 26th of December, a break in the storm allowed the Hesperus to approach the island. Captain Jim Harvey, commanding the relief vessel, felt a growing sense of dread. As they neared the landing stage, there was no welcoming party, no flag flying from the pole to signal that all was well. He sounded the ship's horn, a loud, mournful blast that echoed against the cliffs and was answered only by the cry of seabirds. There was no human response. The lighthouse stood silent, impassive, a stone tomb against the gray sky. Joseph Moore, a relief keeper, was the first to be rowed ashore. The sense of unease was now palpable, a heavy blanket over the island. He ascended the steep stone steps leading up from the landing platform to the lighthouse complex. The main gate was closed, as was the door to the living quarters, but both were unlocked. Stepping inside, he was met not with chaos or signs of a struggle, but with an eerie, profound stillness. The silence within the thick stone walls was somehow more deafening than the crashing waves outside. Something was terribly, fundamentally wrong. Inside the lighthouse, the scene that greeted Joseph Moore was one of perplexing order and unsettling detail. In the kitchen, a meal of salted mutton and potatoes lay untouched on the table, as if the keepers had been called away in the very midst of preparing to eat. A single chair was overturned, a stark, solitary note of disruption in an otherwise tidy room. It was the only immediate sign that anything had happened in haste. The keepers' beds were unmade and the clock on the wall had stopped, its hands frozen in time. The most vital part of the lighthouse, the lamp itself, was clean and refilled with oil, ready to be lit. This suggested that whatever had occurred, it had happened after the keepers had completed their evening duties on December 15th. Their oilskins, the heavy waterproof gear essential for braving the Atlantic gales, were missing. Curiously, one set remained behind, belonging to Donald MacArthur. This implied that one man had ventured out into a ferocious storm without his protective clothing, an act that no seasoned keeper would ever contemplate. The official lighthouse logbook provided the most cryptic clues. The entries were mundane until December 12th, when Thomas Marshall, the principal keeper, wrote of a severe storm, the likes of which he had never witnessed in 20 years. He described his fellow keepers in distress, James Duckett as being very quiet, and Donald MacArthur, a notoriously tough and seasoned mariner, as having been crying. This was an astonishing entry, suggesting an almost supernatural level of fear in men accustomed to the ocean's fury. Further entries on the 13th spoke of the storm still raging with the men praying. The final chilling entry, written on the 15th of December, simply read, "Storm ended, sea calm, God is over all." Yet weather reports for the area on those dates showed no such anomalous storm. The seas were rough but not unusually so. The logbook seemed to describe a private, localized terror, a storm that raged only on the island of Eileen Moore, or perhaps only in the minds of the three men who were stationed there. The official inquiry, conducted by Robert Muirhead, the superintendent of the Northern Lighthouse Board, concluded with a plausible if not entirely satisfying explanation. He surmised that two of the men had gone down to the western landing to secure equipment during a lull in the bad weather. A massive, unexpected wave, a rogue swell of incredible force, must have swept over the platform, washing both men into the turbulent sea. The third keeper, seeing this from the lighthouse, would have rushed out to help, and in his haste was also overcome by the ocean. This theory accounts for the missing oilskins and the single set left behind, but it strains credulity. Lighthouse keepers were drilled in safety protocols. The rule that one man must always remain inside the tower was absolute. For all three to abandon their post, even in an emergency, was a catastrophic breach of conduct. Furthermore, the damage to the western landing, including a bent iron railing and a displaced supply box, was over 100 feet above sea level, testifying to the incredible power of the waves that day, a power that could indeed snatch three men away in an instant. Yet, more fanciful theories have endured, born from the eerie details left behind. Some whisper of a great sea serpent, a monster from the deep that rose from the waves to claim the men. Others speak of madness, a sudden, violent dispute that ended with one keeper murdering the other two before casting himself into the sea in a fit of remorse. The logbook entries, with their talk of a phantom storm and men weeping in fear, fuel speculation of a supernatural event, a malevolent presence on the island that drove them to their doom. The mystery of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse has thus become a maritime legend, a ghost story whispered by sailors. No bodies were ever recovered from the churning Atlantic. The three keepers, Marshall, Duckett, and MacArthur, simply cease to exist, leaving behind only an overturned chair, an untouched meal, and a logbook that speaks of a terror beyond our comprehension. As you contemplate the silent, empty tower, what does your imagination conjure? Was it the mundane fury of the sea, or did something far stranger rise from the mist that day? Here lies the Voynich Manuscript, a relic from an unknown mind. For over a century, the greatest minds have stared into its pages and found only mystery. Discovered in 1912, it was found within a collection of Jesuit texts in Italy. Its physical form suggests an origin in the early 15th century. Carbon dating places its creation between 1404 and 1438. What we see upon its pages is a world both alien and hauntingly familiar. The script itself has defied all attempts at analysis. Venturing into the manuscript, one finds unsettling biological sections filled with female figures bathing in networks of pools and pipes. Connected by intricate plumbing, their bodies are submerged in colored fluids. What forgotten science is depicted here? The cosmological section displays abstract cartography. Circular diagrams unfold into mandalas filled with celestial bodies. The pharmaceutical section shows apothecary jars labeled in an inscrutable script, hinting at recipes for unknown ailments. The manuscript presents a complete system of knowledge, yet its language remains sealed. The drive to solve this puzzle has become a powerful force. During the Second World War, the legendary codebreaker William Friedman turned his intellect to the Voynich Manuscript, concluding it was an early attempt at a constructed, artificial language. Some propose it is an elaborate hoax, others whisper of alien origins. And so, the manuscript endures, locked in its profound silence. It challenges our deepest assumptions about language, information, and the nature of secrets. What if the greatest secret it holds is that some things are simply not meant for us to know? For decades we have aimed our technological ears at the heavens, straining to hear a single, coherent sound. And on one summer night in 1977, for 72 fleeting seconds, it seemed the universe spoke back. Wow! The stage for this cosmic event was the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University. On the night of August 15th, it was aimed towards the constellation of Sagittarius. It was from this direction that the signal came, a narrow-band radio transmission of astonishing strength. 6 EQUJ5, this is a universally significant frequency. We are here. The 72 seconds of the WOW signal represent the entire lifetime of this cosmic mystery, dictated by the Big Ear telescope. The signal's intensity rose, then faded perfectly. This perfect bell curve is the signal's most tantalizing feature. Immediately, a frantic search began. But over 100 subsequent searches have been met with silence. The voice from Sagittarius spoke once and has never been heard from again. This has fueled decades of debate. Every attempt to explain it away has failed, leaving the WOW signal as the most robust, unexplained candidate for an alien transmission ever detected. The legacy of the WOW signal is not one of answers, but of a single, immensely powerful question that hangs over all of humanity. It has become a cultural touchstone, a piece of scientific folklore that represents our deepest hopes and fears about our place in the universe. It is the ghost in our machine, a tantalizing hint that we may not be the only thinking beings to gaze up at the stars. The signal exists as a perfect unresolved chord, a moment of cosmic potential that has echoed through the halls of science and imagination for nearly half a century. It forces us to confront a profound philosophical dilemma. What if it was real? What if, in that brief moment, we truly made contact? The implications are staggering, capable of reshaping our science, our religions, our very definition of what it means to be human. The silence that followed the signal is, in a way, as significant as the signal itself. It underscores our isolation. We are straining to hear a conversation taking place in a language we do not understand, across a distance we cannot cross. The WOW signal is a symbol of our cosmic childhood, reaching out for a hand in the dark. The signal's name, born of Dr. Amon's spontaneous reaction, perfectly captures its emotional impact. It is a gasp of astonishment, a moment of pure, unadulterated wonder. It represents the pinnacle of the scientific ideal, to witness something completely new, something that defies all known explanation. It is a reminder that the universe is not only stranger than we imagine, it is stranger than we can imagine. The search continues, driven by the memory of those 72 seconds, a search for a second wow that could change the world forever. And so, we are left to wonder, what do you believe the signal was? A fluke of cosmic radiation, a natural phenomenon we have yet to discover, or a genuine, fleeting greeting from an unknown intelligence nestled among the stars of Sagittarius? And perhaps the more important question is, if we were to receive such a message again, one that was sustained and unambiguous, is humanity truly ready for the discovery? Are we prepared to have our solitude shattered and our place in the universe redefined forever? The cosmos remains silent, waiting for our answer. The disappearance of Amy Bilig and the haunting calls from a spectral telephone line, the abandoned lighthouse on the Flannan Isles, a silent monument to a vanished watch, the Voynich Manuscript, a book written in the language of dreams, the wow signal, a 72-second whisper from the stars. All these stories have one thing in common. They remind us that truth can be far stranger than fiction, and some mysteries refuse to die. They are the dark corners of our map, the regions marked here be dragons, challenging the very limits of our understanding and our belief. These are not just tales of the unexplained, they are echoes of our own deepest questions. They are the universe looking back at us, presenting puzzles without solutions, testing the resilience of our logic and the strength of our imagination. They are the enduring enigmas that we carry with us, passed down through generations. Their power not in being solved, but in the very fact that they remain stubbornly, beautifully, terrifyingly unknown. Which of these stories haunts you the most? Do you believe any mystery is truly unsolvable? Leave your wildest theory in the comments. Dark Data Files will feature the best ones in our next episode. If these mysteries made your skin crawl, share this video with a friend who loves the unknown. The drive to explore these shadows is a fundamental part of who we are, a shared instinct to peer over the edge of certainty and into the abyss of what might be. Don't forget to subscribe for more Dark Data Files, where reality gets stranger every week. The truth is out there, hidden in the static, locked in the code, and whispered on the wind. Drop your theory in the comments. Will you be the one to solve the unsolvable?